Hey folks, it's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today's Thursday, October 12th. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, we're going to be discussing the stock Cannara Biotech. It's been a while. We're going to be discussing the price action, what to expect in the days, weeks, months ahead. And I'll bring up the chart and I'll take a look at it, give my thoughts and opinions. But I do want to recommend that everybody don't fall asleep on Cannara. I know it's been frustrating with the price action when a lot of other names, take a look at Canopy, for example, up almost 500% off of its lows, and Cannara not really seeing that momentum ever since the HHS recommendation of Schedule 3 and the safer banking news. But as I've been saying for a while now, it's probably going to take the tier 1s to top out and to see some consolidation and pullback before the tier 2 and the tier 3s. And I would consider Cannara a tier 2. And today, a lot of our leaders and the tier 1s were down and Cannara was up. So exactly what I had predicted came true. And again, it's not that I have a crystal ball, it's just the most likely scenario. And once you've been around the stock market for 10, 15 years, I've been studying the financial markets for about 15 plus years now, and it just starts to resonate, right? You just start to expect these things because you've seen it time and time again, right? So before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe. Tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. Also, make sure to give Pow Group a follow on X, which is previously Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. I'm going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. Again, the handle for that is @GroupPow. So again, we'll take a look. I just did an interview with Nick Sosiak, the CFO, as well. If you haven't seen that, I've done a couple of interviews, and I just did one recently about a couple of months ago at the end of August. So if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. But essentially, over the last few days, we're now up over 15% off of the lows. And again, this was to be expected. We came off of a daily oversold. We almost touched down on daily oversold. So daily oversold bounce was underway. And again, take a look at Tilray. So Tilray over the last few days has been down, right? So on Tilray, over the last 3 days, it is now down over 10%. And then LOVE on the TSXV is up over 15%. And then, you might be wondering, well, that's just an outlier on Tilray, but if we take a look at CGC, same thing, right? CGC over the last couple of days, not down as much, but if we take a look over the last few days, actually it's down over 17%. Wow. But it is a potential inverse head and shoulders here on the daily time frame, which I did a video on that, and we're still holding that pattern at the moment. And then Tilray was a daily bear flag, and it was targeting $1.95, and that's exactly what we hit. And then when I did that video, again, it's not that I have a crystal ball, it's just if you understand technical analysis and what charts mean. Warren Buffett even said himself, he never buy a stock before he looks at a chart, right? And technical analysis isn't the end all be all, it's not a guarantee, it's just probabilities. And then exactly what I said was when the tier 1 start to consolidate, we'll more than likely see Cannara start to go the other way. And it's one of those names that kind of does, whatever it wants on its own. It kind of has a mind of its own, right? And this is generally what happens, right? When huge news like a catalyst like safer banking or recommendation to Schedule 3 from HHS comes out, where do you think the majority are going to go? Where's the herd going to flock, right? The retail investors are going to flock to the names that are listed on the NYSE and the NASDAQ, right? Because people in the US, retail investors in the US, I hear people say all the time, oh, I want to buy Curaleaf, I want to buy this company, but they're not on the NASDAQ or the NYSE. I can't buy it in my broker, right? So again, you're not going to be able to buy a name like Love, right, on easily and accessible. A lot of the OTC names are not available in the US, and then obviously they can't buy on the TSX or the CSE because they're in the US, right? So a lot of people in the US only have like the MSOS ETF, right? For example, they can buy an ETF that trades on a US major exchange, but they can't buy these individual names. And plus, when a massive news comes out and a huge catalyst comes out, then people are going to flock to the popular names like the CGCs of the world, the Tilrays, the SNDLs, and anything that's on the NASDAQ, right? So CGC was also down to about 34 cents from 60 some dollars. So again, it was beaten down more and it had more reward versus the risk, right? And then LOVE actually held up a lot better than a lot of its peers. And then on the weekly time frame, if we take a look at the exponential moving average here, you can see here that we have a bull cross forming And it's not uncommon for us to see a bull cross and then come back down, kind of shake people out that one last time before we see a monster and massive move. And like I said, don't fall asleep, because this name is going to see massive upside, in my opinion, over the next couple of months, along with the MJ sector. And it's going to more than likely be one of those names that, it hasn't even rose to fame yet. Like, we're not seeing it mentioned by analysts. Nobody's talking about it. There's no publishers. There's no media covering the company. It could potentially be a buyout target. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see, but it could be. They could also acquire other companies potentially. You never know, but they're profitable. There's lots to like about the company. They're still expanding across Canada, which it's home country. And then there's possibility for expansion into the US, right? So we're just getting into Alberta markets. We're just getting into the British Columbia market. So there's so much growth here. And then the Atlantic province is coming eventually as well. So they still have to get nationwide distribution. So there's a lot of room for growth here, right? There's a lot to be excited about. The company's profitable, and they're taking that crawl, walk, run approach. And I really do like what I'm seeing here. Their products are fantastic. Like I said, it's great to see that they're now here in Alberta, where I reside. And like I said, don't fall asleep, because once this thing starts to get some mass media attention, and once the MJ sector really starts to kick into high gear, no pun intended, we're going to see Cannara, in my opinion, one of the biggest beneficiaries of this new bull market. And one thing to be looking out for is the monthly uptrend to confirm. If that happens, which I think it's going to over the next couple of months, this thing is going to absolutely fly. So we have the low, the high. We're forming the monthly higher low now. And now we need to break the high of last month at $1.07. The high so far of this month is $1.04. So we're just 3 pennies away. So if we break above the high of last month at 107, we start the monthly bounce, and then it's all about resistance there at 115. We also had to top out a couple of months later at 114. So that 115 double top area is going to be very, very strong resistance. And if we break above that resistance from here, that's going to confirm the monthly uptrend with the low, high, higher low, and higher high. So if 115 breaks, like I said, expect massive upside. We don't really have any nearby resistance until $1.35. After that, $1.50, and then nothing till about $1.85. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, in the least, to see this name trading at around $2 Canadian over the next couple of months. And if you're wondering, if you're looking for a swing trade opportunity, or wondering if it's a good time to buy it now, well, I don't think you can go wrong investing for the long term. But again, this isn't financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'll never tell you to buy, sell, or hold, and you should never buy or sell anything based on anything I write or anything that I say, right? So if you're taking a look at this monthly chart, maybe you set a stop buy. Maybe you purchase it if we break above 115, and then enter when we confirm the monthly uptrend. That'd be the more conservative, laid back approach, right? A little bit less reward, but a little bit less risk. Or if you're a little bit more aggressive, you want to add on this monthly higher low, which we were forming, and maybe you start to scale in, right? Or maybe you wait for the monthly bounce to occur, a little bit less conservative, but still conservative nonetheless, right? If we break 107, enter there. And then, but again, there's multiple ways to play it. Personally, I've just been dollar cost averaging, buying the lows. I got it down here as low as, I think it's like 65 cents. The low is 60 cents. I think I filled at 65 cents. And I think my average is somewhere around that 80 to 90 cent area. It's been a while since I checked, but I don't really care, because it's money that I'm willing to let sit. I think that this company is going to be very, very, it's going to be successful long-term. It's profitable. It's just gaining nationwide distribution here in Canada. It's not even fully available nationwide yet. And their products are amazing. They have a great value proposition, and their price points are very attractive as well, right? They're growing Quad A MJ at very reasonable prices. So once they really start to scale up, they've got so many zones in the Valley Field facility that still are not in production yet. So once they, again, that crawl, walk, run approach, once they start running, you just wait for the price action to catch up, right? And then, like I said, we're contending with these EMAs. So we also have the EMA 26 there at 115. So 115 is going to be extremely, extremely strong resistance. But if we get above it, what happens when very, very strong resistance gets broken? A very, very strong move to the upside. And then look, the 200 weekly moving average, the weekly is even more of a brick wall, because you're on the weekly time frame, right? And look, we keep topping out at those moving averages on the weekly. And then you can see the upper wicks showing lots of selling pressure. But where's the 200 weekly? 115. So 115 is going to be the level to break. And then we're getting back above the 10-week moving average. If we can see a weekly candle close over $1.01, that 10-week moving average this week, it's going to look real good. We're also gearing up for a potential bull cross of the stochastic and the MACD. We had a bear cross of those oscillators. and indicators, and then we closed below the 10-week moving average, indicating that we were more than likely going to, and the stochastic gave us the early clue, right? The stochastic crossed bearish here when we were at around a buck, and then we dropped all the way down to it about 90 cents, right? So now we're flipping that around, and we're contending potentially here with the 200 weekly again, which will be the first time really since back here in October of last year. Actually, it would have been, let me just inspect this real quick here. So it would have been back in November of 2022. So we're coming up on that key resistance. And then something else to be aware of is we already had the golden cross with the 50-day below the 200-day moving average when the shorter term, and it's the 50, crossing the 200, that's a golden cross. Look what happened the last time that happened. Happened all the way back here in January of 2021. Price went from about $1 all the way up to $1.85, like I mentioned. Then we had the death cross with the 50 above the 200 when the shorter terms above the longer term, and in this case the 50 and the 200. Then we see massive downside, right? When that cross occurred, death cross, we were at around $1.38, and then we dropped all the way down to about 60 cents, like I said, all the way down here. And now we're seeing the golden cross potentially lining up as well. So like I said, this is generally the time where, and I've been seeing people on social media all the time, like, oh, like it sucks to see CGC running and TLRY running and all these other names in the US, right? Like AYR and all these, Curaleaf and tier one names. Well, again, that's how the market works, right? When massive news hits, retail investors are going to go to the popular ones. Cannara is not popular. It's profitable, but it's not popular, right? So it needs to gain that popularity. And, at the end of the day, investing in stocks is just a popularity contest. And if you wait until something becomes popular and known and obvious, well, then you probably missed the boat. It's not to say that, like for example, Tesla, yeah, it had some crazy moves, but it's not to say that it's not going to go up in 5-10 years from now, right? But you would have been a lot better buying at the lows, 2 or 3 years ago, right? When everybody, when the media was portraying, oh, the company's going bankrupt, it'll never make any money, it sells less cars in a year than Toyota makes in a month, right? All this garbage that they fill you with. But if you just ignore the mainstream media and do the research, do your due diligence, and just realize what you own, you won't need the mainstream media or someone to tell you whether or not you should buy or own anything, right? Buy or sell or own anything, right? So you just need to put in the work. And if if you're not 100% sure, then maybe you need to dial back the investment capital, right? Maybe you just need to go a little bit less heavy. I think a lot of people also just get investor fatigue, and you got to realize that this is what the stock market, when you feel a certain type of way, when you feel frustrated and impatient, that is exactly what the stock market is designed to do, right? Why do you think we drop 80-90% plus in the MJ industry, in the crypto industry? It's because they bore the hell out of people for multiple years, and they drop everything 80-90+% to capitulate everybody, to make everybody fold and flop, right? Fold their hand and tap out, right? And then we see the massive move. So like I said, don't fall asleep on Cannara. Let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to like it, share it around with your network, and I would appreciate that very much. So I love each and every one of you for tuning in. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you again on the next video.